Itadakimasu. Do you know itadakimasu?
Itadakimasu means enjoy the food.
It's sort of a bon appetit, or maybe you can explain what itadakimasu.
Yeah, bon appetit. It's some kind of greeting before you start eating.
So I remember itadakimasu, because of course it's Japanese, by picturing a bowl of rice, and then on top of the bowl of rice is a duck, like a little duck, a ducky, and a mouse. And if you eat them, you eat the duckimasu. So, itadakimasu.
It's good.
Here we go.
Working with people like you, what's so important is you're taking the instrument and the sound of the guitar to a really different place. Oh, thank you.
Than what they were intended for.
Very much so. You know, I always wondered,
Says the maker of the super distortion pickup.
Right there.
Well, when I was a kid growing up in New York, there were a lot of guys that you admired and looked up to. For example, a lot of jazz guitar players. And the guitars really were designed to have a particular type of sound and a particular type of application. Jimi Hendrix and, Beck and Page, they really altered the sound of the guitar in really a very different way.
They took the jazz sound and they went, enough of that. We need some treble. We need strings you can bend. We need pickups that won't shriek and howl.
The idea of subverting things and moving things into a direction that was more contemporary, the super distortion being one of the first things that really became popular in the marketplace was exactly that. Now, I know you've played supers over the years.
It was my first DiMarzio pickup. It's funny, when I first saw an ad for the super distortion, I didn't know what it sounded like. I just knew the name.
And that was enough.
And I thought, this is a good name. Super distortion sounds fantastic. And I remember I had this is probably 1979 or 80, and I'd saved up about $80. So I could either buy an MXR Distortion Plus distortion pedal or the Super Distortion pickup. And I assumed, because both things had the word distortion in them, that they probably did pretty much the same thing, which they don't. I mean, the Super Distortion pickup has significantly more output than a stock pickup, which helps your amp break up. But it's not like fuzz that you can never turn off.
Right,
which is
the distortion pedal.
Yeah.
My first idea, speaking of distortion pedals, was actually I had a Stratocaster. The middle pickup was replaced with a humbucker. The two outside pickups were the original pickups. The middle one was replaced because it originally broke. It was wired directly to a fuzz tone inside the guitar.
Yeah.
And therefore you got like
a switch to it in instant
shred, yeah. And then I wired it out stereo, so you could actually set the two different channels of the amp up, so you could really get the sound you want and really keep the volumes adjusted nicely. And then again, what I learned later on was by working the pickups over, that you could just get the extra gain and work with the right kind of an amp and have that work properly.
I thought of one of my technical questions, because of course I began with the Super Distortion, but over the years I've tried a lot of different DiMarzio pickups, and one of my favorites right now is a more, I guess, traditional pickup, which I have put in a lot of actually vintage Ibanezes that I've accumulated through eBay, and also some of the new models as well. And I love the way it sounds, and it has a pickup cover. And in the 70s, a lot of guys would take the pickup covers off, and it sort of gave it a hot rodded look, like, look, I've modified the guitar, I've taken this piece of metal off. And I don't know why, but I really like the piece of metal. It's sort of beautiful when I look down, and that's, of course it's great to enjoy the sound of something, but to me it's a significant factor to be able to look down at whatever it is, the instrument you're playing, and go, this looks cool. And to me that pickup really has both. So I'm curious, what does the cover do besides look cool?
It added shielding. So the pickup was already pretty quiet, even with the cover off, but the minute you take the cover off the pickup, the noise level goes up a bit.
Like when it doesn't make a difference unless you take your hands off the strings, right?
No, it's actually slightly noisier with the cover off, very slightly.
Okay, so with the cover on, it's quieter globally.
Yeah.
Now what about, so on a humbucker, there's two sets of poles. There's the flathead ones or sometimes Allen wrenches. And then there's, on most of the pickups that would be a PAF style pickup, there's a set of poles that are not adjustable. And the cover covers those up. Does that make any sonic difference?
A little bit. The sound, the pole pieces of course add a sound. One of the first things that I did was we made the pole pieces identical in both coils, so you wind up with the Allen key type pole piece. on both coils.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
Oh, like on the Super Distortion. Yeah.
yeah, that was the first pickup. The Super Distortion, of course, was the first, pickup, replacement pickup in the market. And my idea, of course, was to, again, have a little bit of fun. We made it double cream.
Well, that was the hot rod look, to have the double cream coils with the Allen screws. Without playing a note, you knew you were in for some high gain guitar fun. I have another technical question for you. Obviously there's a magnet inside a pickup, and that if the magnet is too strong or too close to the string, it can actually stop the string from sustaining, because the string, when it's vibrating, is moving. And the magnet can pull on it and sort of suck the vibration out. I think it's the DiMarzio, the Air series, was that the series that's built to prevent that? In other words, it doesn't put too much magnetic pull, so the string can vibrate freely.
The problem as you increase magnetism is that if the string's vibrating free in air, what actually happens is the magnet pulls it out of the natural vibrating orbit.
Oh, okay.
And what you're perceiving as a reduction in sustain is literally that loss of, because basically it's vibrating easier in the down direction than in the normal. So there's sort of this like balance point of how close to get the pickup to the string.
Sustained friction. Now, what's the good part of having a strong magnet?
The output goes up.
So if you use a weaker magnet to prevent that sustained friction, do you compensate in some other way, or it just sounds good? It doesn't have to be that strong of a pull.
You kind of, the biggest problem is as you get closer to the end of the fingerboard, that's where the string really wants to move the most.
Oh,
the closer you are to the
cowboy
bridge.
chords.
No, just in other words, if the fingerboard is here, that portion midway between the nut and the bridge is really the place where you want the most freedom. Being close to the bridge, because it's being supported by the bridge, you can actually get the magnetism up higher.
Oh, okay. It's
Yeah.
more in the neck. But of course, when you have an electric guitar and you turn, if you get the pickup selector, if you turn a pickup on or off, it's still magnetically on. So
It's always on.
So even if it's not an issue with the bridge pickup, that neck pickup is still there,
Yep.
creating problems if the magnetic is too strong or it's too close.
You'll notice it a lot on a standard Stratocaster. If you get that neck pickup up, that's a real killer. All of those little vertical magnets are what I would call string suckers.
Yeah. Is it? I imagine you've done, tests on this sort of thing. Is it something that the human eye can pick up, or is it more sonically noticeable, or on a meter, or
Sonic. I mean, typically, if I was setting up a Stratocaster, I would have raised the bridge pickup and then had them gradually move down away from the string so that they were better for rhythm.
Yeah.
And play either a C or a high E, because those are the giveaway notes on the low E string. If your C is still clean, if you
On which string?
low E.
Oh,
And
okay.
again, they'll
on the
be
eighth fret, or like really high?
Yeah, yeah, and that's also the bigger the string, the more it's going to be affected because the magnet
The more
is.
magnet. Yeah. There's no sustain on eights anyway, so it's a moot point.